All right, part one of this reunion. A little boring, but learned some stuff about these relationships with the ladies. The dynamics are definitely different. And Kelli, you really spent $1,000 on an IV drip?
Welcome to the Asia Esterak Hour, where film meets conspiracy and pop culture gets a reality check. From sharp recaps to sci-fi theories and media deep dives, Asia Esterak serves it unfiltered. Let the binge begin.
All right, welcome back to the Asia Esterak Hour. I am Asia Esterak. All right, I am late. I apologize. I am actually under the weather. I'm not feeling too great. I've been super hydrated. The irony that I tell everybody at the end of every video to stay hydrated, and I'm dehydrated. Anyway, I'm late, but I'm here. All right, so we're reviewing the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, reunion part 1. Okay, so we open with the ladies getting ready for the reunion. I love that they do this behind the scenes stuff with the ladies at the reunions. I actually like that. So whoever thought of that, thank you. I like that. So as they're getting ready, we notice that Brit's glam room, green room is noticeably empty. At one point, not Porsha, Phaedra goes in there and discovers that it's empty. The other ladies kiki. We get to the actual reunion where everybody was 2.5 hours late. I don't even know how that was possible considering, I don't know, that was weird. But so all the ladies come out and Andy points out that Brit's section is empty, so she's not there. Before we get to that though, I just want to briefly talk about the fashions. So it's obvious that the color theme was like gold and yellow-ish. I actually thought everybody looked good, even down to Phaedra's costume. Phaedra's outfit was giving very Shin Yoon, if you know, you know, and like Thai statue princess. It was a strange choice for a reunion. I actually thought she looked nice. It was very I Dream of Jeannie. It just seemed like a weird choice for a reunion. It gave more of like a costume party. I talk a lot of shit about Drew throughout the season. She's not my favorite, but I actually thought Drew looked great. I really liked her dress. Her hair probably could have been toned down more, but she looked nice. Everyone looked good. The dresses were pretty. I really like Porsha's dress a lot. I like Drew's dress a lot. Kelli's dress was cute, but there was a lot of bust going on. It just felt like she was spilling out. But overall, I'm talking a lot of shit. Everybody looked great. Everyone looked great. Everybody's skin looked great. Fantastic. Anyway, this reunion started off hella slow to me. Just kind of slow. But so they talk about Brit's absence. Porsha mentions the fact that she had spoken to Brit the night before and she did not mention that she wasn't showing up. She talked about her husband was even coming. Me personally, I think Brit didn't show up. That anxiety and all the shit talking from this season. She got haunted by the 3 ghosts of Christmas past, of a season's past. And probably, clearly got cold feet, got scared and didn't show up. And then did this ridiculous lawsuit. So they talked about that. They briefly went on about the disconnect between Kelli and Brit, but that was saved more for her. I feel like a lot of the beginning of this reunion was wasted on Brit and like kind of superfluous stuff. So they come back from the commercial break and Cynthia's there. That's how I knew. I was like, this reunion, they started off slow because I don't know why, but for some reason they did. So anyway, Cynthia shows up. Cynthia looked amazing as always. I didn't care for her wig too much. One of those hard hairlines again. I didn't like that, but whatever. But she looked great in the yellow dress. So she comes out. Andy points out that Cynthia was like the Zen, and he even called her the glue. I don't know if she was the glue, but she was definitely a Zen point. He asked her how she liked her role on the show. She said she loved it. I loved her role too. I think they should bring Cynthia in that capacity. And that's probably what they were trying to do with Kenya and then this whole, situation with her and Brit. But so we get to Porsha. We do her bit. We talk about this divorce with Simon, the house. Listen, Porsha, I love you, but when they asked, I think it was Andy that asked her about does she still love Simon? Is she still in love with Simon? And this fool said yes. Girl, don't play in my face. Porsha, I love you, but don't play in my face. You do not love that man. You were so happy he's gone. You filed for divorce. What are you talking about? But okay, we're gonna roll with it, I guess. So in this package, we actually address, there's tension between Kelli and Porsha. I didn't see that coming. Did y'all see it coming? I thought they had kind of gotten over their, whatever the disconnect was. So of course, Andy brings up Kelli mentioning why you take that lady's husband line. And Kelli, you're full of shit too, though, because you were like, well, I wasn't saying it to be messy. I was saying it, I was genuinely asking out of concern. Girl, you were saying it to be messy. And yes, Porsha absolutely exaggerated that she yelled it, that she was screaming it at the party, but you weren't saying it to be like fun and warm and fuzzy. You were saying it to be messy. I wish she would have owned that, but she didn't. Whatever. Those two are clearly not like friends. There's something going on there. I still don't understand what that was. Anyway, Porsha goes over the whole prenup thing, the house, ICE, that kind of like stuff that we pretty much already know. We already know what would happen with that, so I don't want to even dig too deep into that. It was funny though. Porsha said something like, I got him and I gave him back, so let's leave it at that. Or leave it there, whatever. Okay, so in the same segment, we talk about Porsha and Drew. They go back and forth. You know, Drew's whole stance was, I was not trying to sleep with Dennis, and I was just trying to work with him music wise. He helped me out a lot, blah, blah, blah. Porsha's whole thing was, I didn't want him filming with you. I didn't care about you guys working together. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, Porsha, but okay. Drew was saying she did reach out. Portia's like, you didn't the way that you said you were. Drew's like, you were in Dubai, whatever. I like that Cynthia chimed in and said, even with all of that, you have to understand, Drew, that the optics weren't good. So they kind of all go back and forth, Porsha and Drew. And then Porsha does something that I wasn't expecting at all. I don't think anybody was. She actually unexpectedly stands up, walks over to Drew and says, I want to give her a hug. I just want to put this to rest. So they hug and they actually reconcile. And it seemed genuine. I felt it was genuine. So I don't know. I felt that was genuine and I liked it. It felt nice. I hate that they're going to be going at it again later on, but that felt nice. I liked that Porsha owned the fact that she was absolutely being petty when she sat down with Ralph. I'm glad that she said that. It's funny, Porsha surprised me a little bit this first part of the reunion because I wasn't expecting her to take accountability the way that she did with the Drew stuff. I really wasn't expecting that. Personally, I don't think it was all Porsha. I think, Drew, you definitely egged a little bit of it on. She did kind of own it a little bit, so I'm glad that that was put to rest, because let's keep it real. That shit was stupid. That was a dumb storyline. It was dumb. I'm sure more is going to get revealed because Dennis apparently is going to be there, but either way, they reconciled. It felt nice. Cool. So we get to Kelli. We get to Kelli's divorce. We talk about her finances. I thought Kelli was a great addition to the show. She definitely was a fun newbie. She definitely brought it. They talk about her situation with Brit. So the thing with her and Brit, it seemed like she said that the disconnect with her and Brit was that she felt like Brit wasn't, she didn't say this, but in so many words it gave that she felt that Brit wasn't being reciprocal in their friendship, you know, that she wasn't supporting her and showing up for her as a friend. Kelli said that she was going through a lot with her divorce. As we all saw that on the show and in, you know, the blogs, the news, whatever. And And she was just like, I helped her out a lot. She got on the show. She didn't have a stylist. I helped her out with that. She didn't have a lot of things. And she said the problem was is she was trying to take her whole stylist team. And she said for that, she kind of felt like, is she trying to take my whole life? So Porsha inadvertently was Brit's talking piece a little bit because she's the last person that was actually spoke to her. And she was kind of reiterating stuff that Brit had told her. I kind of wish you hadn't done that, Porsha. I kind of just wish you had stayed out of that, because the reality was it seemed like you were fighting her battle a little bit. I know you weren't intentionally, but homegirl didn't show up. So that shit should have just been left in the wind. She had the opportunity to come. She chose not to come. Don't put yourself, don't be her mouth. Don't repeat what she said. Let her do that. Because she's doing all this. She's on the fucking internet, phone, laptop. Listen, whatever she can get on, whatever device she could jump on to talk about y'all, she's doing. So let her talk. Porsha, you got enough to beef with. Don't do all that. So I didn't like that Porsha was, I'm just repeating what she said. Fuck all that. Forget all that. Come on. But what we know now is Brit is toxic and nasty. She went to Porsha and Cynthia and repeated a bunch of shit, made stuff up, because I think a lot of her stuff was fabricated. Some yes, some not. So it is what it is with her. But so that was the disconnect with Kelli and Brit. Andy asked about Kelli's finances. So Kelli said I like that she owned that she didn't pay her rent. She said, I didn't pay my rent. No, I had a $200,000 lawyer fee to fight my husband in court. There was conversation in this segment that talked about how Kelli's husband, Porsha intimated that Kelli's husband may not be attacking her the way that we all think that he is. She implied that that Kelli may have been the one doing it. But then Drew was like, well, he did reach out to Ralph. And then, of course, Bravo shows a clip of Ralph's YouTube show where he mentions Kelli and Kelli's husband and talks about Kelli having her husband arrested. Very messy. Kelli's husband sounds gross and messy. And that sucks for Kelli, because your husband sounds like very bitter. And he's probably a little jealous because now you have this success and it's very on a public platform. If this is all true, they're saying that it's not, that she's kind of making it up to make herself look bigger for the show. Either way, it's not good. It's not a good look. It's all negative publicity. And you guys have kids who are in the middle of this. So I don't know. But anyway, Andy was like, so do you think that it's necessary to spend the way that you did, for Chloe? And she's like, yes, Chloe was stolen. Kelli stood by all that, but it was funny that she mentioned that she had paid $1,000 for them IV drips that she brought to Brit's house. She's like, I even paid for her husband. So Kelli definitely felt some type of way. I would too, but let that be a lesson, because I don't care how old you are. We're always learning a lesson. That's a lesson that you don't spend that type of money on somebody that's just a new friend. That lady, you didn't even know that lady that well. Y'all all learned she was batshit insane on the show. You didn't know her like that. But it was interesting. I don't like that Kelli and Porsha are... it kind of sucks that there's a disconnect there. I don't understand that. I mean, maybe they'll get more into that. I don't know. So we get to Angela. Angela's package. Also, before we get to Angela, I want to say this. So we learned in this Kelli situation that Kelli and Brit and Shamia had all had some sort of alliance at the beginning of the show. Later on in that conversation, Shamia says that Porsha was a part of the alliance too. Porsha's like, I was. And Shamia's like, yeah, girl. I don't know if I believe you, Shamia, because you lie about a lot of shit. So I don't know if I believe that. And then Porsha says something very poignant, which to me would make sense. She's like, we know with the history of these shows that alliances don't work. So I've never put myself a part of an alliance. Maybe you did when you was on that Hennessy and you said that. I don't know. I don't think she would put herself in that. But then again, you never know. And my thing is, I've watched enough reality television to learn that alliances don't work. They don't even work on Big Brother. So they definitely don't work in this particular forum either. Anyway, so we get to Angela. We get to Angela's package. They talk about Charles and that whole situation. Real quick, Porsha does apologize again about the comment that she made about I would F Charles. You know, she was being cheeky and she clearly was drinking. It was doing too much. And it wasn't. My thing is, you the last person to be talking about banging somebody's husband considering your track record. Anyway, so back to Angela. So in Angela's package, of course, that guy that showed up at that event and does that really corny ass toast. When they show that shit, homeboy, his corny toast, and cheers to anybody, if your name's Angela and your husband's cheating on you. Like, who does that? Why would he do that? That's so lame. Whether it was real or you were paid, either way, it's both lame. It's very lame. It's very tacky. It's very lowbrow, very low vibrational, sir. You look stupid. The shit people do to get on camera amazes me sometimes. But, of course, they further show later on in that scene where he's like, well, Phaedra, and he points it out. So we go back to that. We get into that immediately. And Angela is, now, in my original review, I said that I believe Phaedra. Here's my thing. Looking at this again and looking back and even going back to Angela's interview with Carlos King, I don't think Phaedra did that. So I'm going to eat my words. I don't think Phaedra did that. It's not far-fetched to believe that Phaedra would do that because she's done that before in the past. She's done it twice. She did it with Candy and she did it with Nene's sisters, her siblings, her stepsisters or sisters or whatever, cousin somebody. But so she has done that. But I think in this situation, no. And even Phaedra was like, I know Charles, but I don't know him. She's like, I just said that he liked to party and you took that and ran with that. And all of a sudden I'm like, so Angela pulls out this folder, which conveniently was the same color of the theme of the show. It was all yellow. It was kind of funny. So she pulls out this folder of so-called evidence. And she's like, you don't know this woman. They were bleeping out the woman's name. And it turns out the woman knows Phaedra's oldest brother. And she's like, she all went to high school with you guys. So of course that doesn't mean anything, but okay. So Phaedra's like, I am from a family of four, with four other siblings. Like, that just because we all went to high school together doesn't mean we know each other. And she's right about that. And Andy actually kind of backs Phaedra up in this too. It was weird. Angela's not buying it. She's staunch on Phaedra had something to do with this guy coming to the show. And then Phaedra's like, well, I heard that you coerced him to say my name. And that was what I heard. That's why I changed my tune a little bit too. It all sounds very muddled. And I don't know if this is real or not. I really don't know. But the tension was definitely building. And of course we end there because as we know in typical Housewives fashions, the reunions don't get interesting till 2 and 3, and it's really just 2. So it ended there with them arguing about this. Next week is going to be interesting. They show Porsha backstage talking to Dennis like, all right, so you're not bringing out any bombs. What, you got anything to tell me? I imagine the reunions must be nerve-wracking. Can you imagine the week leading up to that? Anyway, kind of boring. So I'm hoping next week gets a little bit more interesting. I felt like this one started off really slow. And I just thought it was weird that they brought Cynthia out after the first commercial break. I was like, okay. But anyway, it is what it is. That was the end of the episode. Please stay hydrated. Unlike me, stay hydrated. And let's have a great week and be nice to each other.